Hello Anglophonians, welcome to another episode where we take another look at European comics, and today it's again the little people's turn. This story has something fresh. It's the little people helping the big ones, and the story is called The Pasted Rooster. The story begins with something completely different than the title suggests. The little people have been secretly quarrying marble from a nearby quarry for 8 nights without the big ones seeing them. They do this with the help of their futuristic flying machines. The marble blocks are attached to the flyers with transport ropes. That night, however, an accident occurs because one of the flyers' radar malfunctions. The flyer gets caught with a transport rope on a rooster that adorns the top of a church tower. The marble block falls down and the flyer gets stuck on the rooster. An emergency plan is activated. Renault arrives and the little people attempt a rescue. The flyer must be away from the rooster by dawn, otherwise the big ones will discover it. But all attempts to loosen the transport ropes from the metal rooster fail. One of the little people comes up with an idea. Why not camouflage the flyer and continue with the rescue operation the next night? Flown in for this purpose is the little people's artist, Sam Hotspur, who builds an almost perfect camouflage out of wax candles. Why only almost perfect? Quite simply because the next morning the pastor immediately noticed that something was wrong with the rooster. He instructs the sexton to look into it. The little people must now put both of them into a deep sleep and monitor them before the rescue and the rooster's repair can proceed. It's a good time to point out that Seron was not writing the little people's adventures alone at this point. When Seron joined the Dupuis publishing house as a comic artist, he was still relatively inexperienced. So he was assigned a colleague who wrote a scenario based on Seron's ideas, which Seron in turn converted into a comic story. The scriptwriter for the first adventures of the little people was Albert Deprechins. Albert Deprechins was a journalist and only occasional cartoonist. He was born in 1927 in Etterbeek in Belgium and died in 1992. In 1953, while working for the family weeklies of the Dupuis edition Le Moustique and Télémoustique, Albert Deprechins was asked to write the screenplay for Will for a story of Tiff and Tendu and Oscar and His Mysteries, which he signed with the pseudonym of Ben. Absorbed by his journalistic occupations, he only returned to comics in 1967 to help Pierre Seron, the beginner, with scripts for the series of The Little People, which he did until 1970. His name also appears in certain scripts of Gaston as author of the gag. But what is this rooster all about? It may not be as common in other parts of the world, but in certain parts of continental Europe, a rooster used as a weather vane or wind direction indicator is not uncommon. They are often found on classical churches in particular. The first known mention of a rooster as a weather vane dates back to the 9th century. Bishop Rampertus of Brescia had one cast in bronze in 820 and placed on the tower of the church of San Faustino Maggiore. Weather vane roosters exist both as silhouette models and as sculptures. These can still be found on many churches today. The reason for this is probably the part in the Bible in which Jesus prophesied to the Apostle Peter, "Before the rooster crows, you will deny me 3 times." According to the Gospel account, Peter did this 3 times for fear of persecution after Jesus was arrested. When the rooster crowed, he remembered this prophecy, was greatly ashamed, and then proclaimed the new faith to the point of martyrdom. The rooster was therefore a reminder not to turn with the wind, but to faithfully follow the Christian faith like Peter in his further life. The year the story The Pasted Rooster was published was 1969. We talked in great detail about that year in another episode, and what all happened back then. In the stories of the little people, however, it became increasingly clear how much Seron was a child of his time. He was strongly influenced by the anti-militarism that had grown out of the aftermath of the Second World War. In previous stories, military bureaucrats were portrayed as a bit of a villain. There will be a few more layers added in future stories. To spoil a part of the ending, of course, in addition to the rescue operation, the little people also have to make sure that the weather rooster looks good again, and that is taken care of by the artist who already built the camouflage. After all the action is over, the rooster shines in new splendor, and the pastor and sexton wonder if they can believe their eyes. So this is it. It is the first but not the last story where the little people help the big ones, especially children. We will see more of that. But for today, that's it. See you next time.